My name is Rachel Myers. I'm 34 years old, married to a kind man named Evan, and we have a daughter, Lily, who just turned 8. We live a calm and quiet life in a small town near Seattle. I work part-time at a publishing company, and Evan has a stable job in a tech firm. Lily is full of energy and loves painting. People around us often say we're lucky. From the outside, it does look like we have the perfect life, but everything started to feel different the day I found something in the attic. It was a letter I had never seen before, an old one, hidden inside a box labeled Photos. At first, I thought it was just something from my mom, but once I opened it and read the first few lines, I felt a strange chill run down my back. My name was in it. The letter was dated 26 years ago. It was written by someone named Helen. I didn't know anyone by that name. But the way she wrote, so emotional, so full of longing, it felt like something important. The letter said she thought about me every day and hoped I would one day know the truth. My hands started shaking. I was around 8 years old when my mom passed away. My dad had told me she died in a car crash, and we didn't talk about it much after that. But now, reading this letter, I started to wonder, was that story even true? Who was Helen, and what did she mean by the truth? I couldn't ignore it. Something inside me told me this wasn't just an old letter. It was a clue. A key to something hidden for years. Something my family never told me. That night, I couldn't sleep. My head was full of questions, and my heart felt heavy. I kept thinking about Helen and the letter. I remembered how my stepmom Anna had always been kind, but she avoided talking about the time before she married my dad. I wondered, was she hiding something too? I finally told Evan what I found. He listened carefully and said, "If it matters to you, then we'll figure it out." His support gave me strength. I knew the only person who could give me real answers was my dad. The next morning, I drove to his house, the letter in my bag. I was nervous, but I needed to know the truth. I showed him the letter and asked, "Who is Helen?" He stared at the paper for a long time before letting out a deep sigh. Then he finally spoke, and what he said changed everything. My dad told me something I never expected to hear. Helen was my real mother, my birth mom. He said she was young and scared when she had me, and she gave me up because she didn't think she could raise a baby alone. "I met Anna later, and she raised you as her own," he said. I felt like the floor had dropped under me. For years, I believed my mother had died in an accident. Now I was being told she had given me away. I didn't even know how to feel, sad, angry, confused. I asked him if Helen ever tried to contact me. He looked guilty. "She wrote letters. I kept them. I thought it was best." I couldn't speak. My whole childhood suddenly felt like it had cracks in it. And those cracks were now breaking wide open. I needed to find Helen and hear her side. I started looking for Helen right away. I searched online records and asked around. A week later, I found someone who matched her name and age. She owned a small bookstore in a town a few hours away. I stared at her photo on the store's website. She looked so familiar. Her eyes reminded me of my own. I didn't know what I would say or how she'd react, but I knew I had to go. I told Evan everything, and he offered to drive me. We left Lily with my sister and headed out. During the car ride, I kept imagining different scenarios. Would she recognize me? Would she be happy? Or would she want me to leave? When we arrived, I stood outside the store, too nervous to move. Finally, I opened the door, and the bell above it rang softly. A woman looked up. It was her. She was behind the counter, arranging books, and when she saw me, she froze. I walked closer and quietly said, "I think you might be my mother." Her eyes filled with tears. "Rachel," she whispered. I nodded. She came around the counter and hugged me tightly, crying into my shoulder. It felt strange, but also comforting. We sat down in a small reading corner of the store. She told me everything. She had me when she was 19. Her parents didn't support her. She wanted to keep me, but they forced her to give me to my dad. Not a day went by that I didn't think about you, she said. She said she sent letters every year, hoping they'd reach me someday. I believed her. I could see the pain in her face, and something deep in my heart told me she was telling the truth. We spent hours talking. I learned that Helen had never married. She lived a quiet life, always wondering where I was. She said she saw photos once, ones my dad shared before cutting contact. You looked happy. I didn't want to interrupt your life, she said. That broke my heart. She didn't come looking because she thought it would hurt me. I told her I had so many questions growing up, but no one answered them. I'm here now, she said. Before I left, she gave me a box. Inside were letters, old baby photos, and a tiny bracelet with my name. It felt like holding a piece of my missing past. I left the bookstore with tears in my eyes, but for the first time I didn't feel lost. I felt found. But there was still one more thing I needed to do. Talk to Anna. A few days later, I visited Anna. I brought Lily with me, hoping the warmth of her smile would soften the conversation. After Lily went to play, I sat with Anna and asked her gently if she ever knew about Helen. She didn't look surprised. Yes, she said. I knew. I was quiet. She told me that she didn't agree with how my dad hid everything, but she stayed silent to keep the peace. You were mine from the moment I held you, she said. I reached out and held her hand. I wasn't angry, I just wanted honesty. I told her I had met Helen. She nodded and said, You had a right to. She looked sad, but not jealous. I promised her that no one could replace her. That moment made me realize something. Love doesn't have to be divided. It can be shared and still stay strong. Life didn't go back to normal right away, but something inside me felt more balanced. I had found a missing piece of myself. I started seeing Helen more often, meeting once a week at her bookstore or at a cafe nearby. We didn't talk about everything at once, but we slowly filled in the blanks. She met Evan too, and he liked her gentle nature. One weekend, we took Lily to the bookstore. Helen welcomed her with warm eyes and showed her a special shelf of children's books. Lily called her Miss Helen, not knowing yet how big of a moment it was. I watched them laugh together, and it hit me. This was the first time 3 generations of women in my family were in the same room. But behind that happiness, one thought stayed with me. I hadn't seen my dad since that day I asked him about the letter. After weeks of silence, I finally decided to visit Dad again. I didn't want a fight. I just wanted a real talk. When I got there, he looked older, tired. We sat across from each other, and I told him everything. How I met Helen, how she had never stopped loving me, and how she had been writing all those years. He stayed quiet. Finally, he said, I thought I was protecting you. I nodded but told him that hiding the truth didn't protect me. It only left me full of questions. I was afraid you'd stop seeing me as your dad, he admitted. I looked at him and said, You'll always be my dad. But I needed to know her too. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was honest. And that honesty was something I had wanted my whole life. For the first time, I saw that he was hurting too. After that day, things didn't magically fix themselves, but a door had opened. I kept seeing Helen and talking with Anna. Helen never tried to take anyone's place. She just wanted to be part of my life, even in small ways. Anna stayed quiet about it all, but one day she asked, How is she? I told her Helen was kind and respectful. Anna just nodded, and I could see something shift in her. Slowly, even Lily began to understand that Miss Helen was special. She drew pictures with two grandmas and didn't find anything strange about it. To her, love didn't have rules or limits. One afternoon, Lily asked, "Is Miss Helen my other grandma too?" I paused for a second, smiled, and said, "Yes, she is." Her little face lit up. For her, it was that simple. A few months passed, and I started to see how the past didn't have to stay a wound. Helen came to Lily's school play and sat in the second row beside Evan. Afterward, she gave Lily a bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite. Anna didn't come that day, but later I showed her a photo of Lily on stage. She smiled faintly and said, "She's growing so fast." I knew Anna still felt unsure about Helen's presence, but she never spoke against it. Maybe it was her way of accepting things slowly. I respected that. I didn't push her. But deep down, I hoped that one day both of them might sit side by side, even just once, for Lily's sake, and maybe for mine too. One Sunday, Helen invited me to her bookstore for a quiet talk. I went, curious but calm. She handed me a folder with papers inside. "These are letters I never sent. After I found out where you were, I wrote every year but never mailed them. I thought you'd never want them." I read one out loud, and halfway through I started crying. She wrote about birthdays she missed, songs that reminded her of me, dreams she had about running into me by accident. It was like reading the thoughts of someone who had been loving me from far away for years. "I don't expect anything," she said. "I just wanted you to have these." I hugged her tight, unable to say anything. The past wasn't a mystery anymore. It was real, and it lived in these pages. Back at home, I shared one of the letters with Evan. He didn't say much but held my hand the entire time. Later that night, I found myself staring at an old photo of me as a toddler in Anna's arms. I realized something important. I wasn't torn between two mothers. I was held by both. One raised me every day, the other missed me every day. That night, I sat down and wrote a letter of my own. I wrote it to both of them, Helen and Anna. I thanked Helen for not giving up and Anna for staying. I told them I loved them in different ways, and neither love was smaller or less real. I didn't know if I would send it, but it felt good to write. Weeks turned into months, and life found a new rhythm. Helen was still part of our life, gently and quietly. Anna grew more relaxed, sometimes asking about her by name. Dad didn't speak much about it anymore, but I could tell he felt lighter too. Lily still spent weekends painting, and once she even painted a picture of two grandmas and a sunflower garden. I put it on the fridge. It made me smile every time I saw it. Maybe this wasn't the life my parents had planned for me, but it was real. And somehow, through all the pain, we had started to become something like a real family again. Different, imperfect, but stronger. Now, almost a year later, I sometimes think about that day in the attic. That single letter changed everything. It opened a door to the truth, even if that truth was hard to hear. I'm still learning, still healing, but I no longer feel lost. I have a mother who raised me and a mother who never forgot me. And both are part of who I am. I see Lily growing up with honesty and love from all sides. And when she asks questions, I answer them. I won't hide the truth from her, because I know now, truth, even when it hurts, can lead us home.